the quick clone function. So I've opened up the flowers.jpg image, and I'm going to go to File and choose Quick Clone. And you'll notice that what it does is it does a quick clone, and I can go ahead and turn on the tracing paper. And the reason that it's not turned on right now is because of my quick clone settings. So let me go ahead and close this, and let's go to Edit, Preferences, and let's go to General, and you'll notice the quick clone settings, and you have 3: delete image from clone, turn on tracing paper, and switch to clone brush or cloner brushes. So let's go ahead. I've turned the tracing paper back on. I'll click OK. I'll go to File, Quick Clone, and you can see now I have my tracing paper turned on automatically. Now the quick clone does in a single step what I did previously in 3 steps, where I cloned my image, I removed it from the canvas of my clone, and I turned on the tracing paper. So with the quick clone, we can now start cloning our image and create a painting out of a photograph. So right now you can see I have the clone brush selected. I'm just going to go ahead and go back to the, I'm going to select the spray. And right now I'm just going to select Fine Spray Cloner. And with my clone brush selected, I can go ahead and start cloning this image. And it's a fine spray. I can go ahead and see how I'm doing by turning off the tracing paper. I'll toggle that off, and we can see the results that I'm getting with this cloner brush. Now I also want to point out, I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. I want to point out that with the cloner brush still selected, if I want to paint with colors as if it's a regular paintbrush, if I want to paint on my image, I can toggle off the cloner colors, and I could, for example, start spray painting on here with this purple color, and this is on another layer, so I don't mess up my image. So what I can do, I can also increase the brush size here, and you'll see here what I'm spraying with this purple color. So I'm going to just go ahead and remove this layer 1. And another thing that I want to show you is that you can actually, you don't have to use the cloner brush category. You can use any brush category you want to clone your image. For example, let's say I want to use pastels. So I have my brush selected. When I click this toggle button to turn on the clone colors, I can then start painting on here, and I'm using the pastel, the artist pastel, and let me go ahead and turn off the tracing paper, and you can see what it's doing. And again, when you're cloning with different brushes, you can go ahead and change the brush settings up here along the top. You'll notice if I make some changes, turn down the resaturation and maybe turn down the opacity and do a little bit more cloning, you'll notice that I get a different effect. So you can work with your brushes, your brush size as well. If I make this smaller, you'll notice that I also get a different effect depending on what I'm cloning here. You'll notice I can come in here and get into adding some more detail to this area with my pastel brush still selected. I can go over it and make it more detailed with a smaller brush size. So let's go ahead now and let's take a look here. We can also go ahead and clone in the original source. I'm going to go ahead and add a new layer. And if I select my brush here, I can just go ahead and I'll use the pastel. I'm going to increase the brush size. I just want to show you what I can do is I can clone parts of the image as well, just like I showed you with regularly cloning. Now I'm using so I can go ahead and use the brush to clone parts of the image. So now you'll see that I've changed the effect on this area. I've turned it into a pastel where the rest is a photo. So again, it's the same thing as if you're working with the cloner brush, where I worked with my cloner brush using my clone source as my clone destination, and I painted over it on another layer. Well, I can do the same thing using any of the different brush categories as cloner brushes. So that is how you work with the quick clone in Corel Paint X.